light right there that goes on. Oh, she's already telling me. This is for staff. There's a little light on the edge of the board there, or edge of the table there, that will turn on when one of us doesn't have our mic on. So I'll be watching that, and I'll mention to you. I guess the hour of 10:05 having arrived, I call to order this meeting of the City of Keene Minor Project Review Committee. I guess the first order of business is roll call. Megan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Court Blomquist,
Here.
John Lucier, Jesse Rounds,
Here.
Mary Brunner, Med Kopczynski, John Rogers,
Here.
Michael Hagan,
Here.
Don Farquhar,
Here.
Steve Dumont Sr.
All right. Thanks, Megan. Next order of business is minutes from the previous meeting. If you had a chance to review them, I need a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Great. Any second?
I'll second that.
All right. Motion and a second. Any comments about that? Oh, okay. Can I get a vote on the minutes from the March 16th, 2023 meeting?
Do you want to just go over who is a voting member at this time?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I think for this item, yes. Mike, you are a voting member. Chief, you're a voting member. Court, you're a voting member. And I'm a voting member for the minutes question. So with that said, can I get, and I think we can do just a hand-raising vote. All in favor? All right, passes unanimously. Okay, final vote on conditional approvals. Megan, do we have any conditional approvals today?
There are no conditional approvals up for final approval today.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next, continued public hearing. So this is a continued public hearing from the last meeting on SPR 0619, modification number 1, site plan for 20 Manchester Street. I guess, Mark, do you want to?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to bring up a concern on this particular site plan modification. The City of Keene is the owner of the property immediately adjacent to the property that's proposed for the modification of their site plan. The Public Works Department is an active user of the space and has been actively engaged with the applicant over various things because we are. And I believe I'm uncomfortable, and I believe I need to recuse myself from making a decision because of those two reasons.
Thanks, Court. I don't know if we need to vote on this. I mean, I think you're recusing yourself, and that's fine with me. I understand. I think we can proceed with, but we do need to then have John join us as a voting member. So on this item, John, you'll be voting, and I think, can you still, yeah.
I will go sit.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Court. All right. With that, I think if you'd like to present, we'll go from there. Yeah, you're on.
It is on? Okay, great. Hello, my name is Mark Froling. I live at 240 Roxbury Street in Keene, New Hampshire, but I'm here on behalf of Froling Energy, my business that is currently located at 20 Manchester Street in Keene, New Hampshire. The property is actually called 560 Main Street LLC, which is a little bit strange because at the time of purchase, it was actually that address. And since then, I believe it was 911 that changed the location address. So it's a little bit misnamed, but that's okay. It's just a company name. On this property, we currently are in, I guess we're still in phase one of the construction from the original plan. And we had some non-compliance in that construction, and that we are actually just in this plan trying to essentially comply with. And there's, I think, really only 3 items at this stage. There is parking striping that needs to be complied with. That was in non-compliance. And then there is some vegetation that needs to be planted that has minor changes, a little bit just in the height of the growth and the placement. And then the 3rd item was a delineation of rentable space that is shown on C1, and then also further down the road as well. So there's 2 rentable spaces. One is currently rented to a tree company, and the other space is just delineated for future potential rental. And I think that is really what I'm here for. If you guys have any comments or questions.
Great, thanks. All right, with that, any questions from the board? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My understanding is there's also going to be an office for 2 office areas for.
On the rentable space?
Correct.
Yeah, so we just put that in a notes. John from Phil's Trees, also misnamed, but well, he wanted to have a little landing area where they, a lot of businesses use cordless tools, and so they don't actually operate an office in there, but they have a little trailer right now where they plug things in. Sometimes they plug a few trucks in when it gets really cold in the winter and things like that. It's actually not operating as an office, but just as a small trailer for some equipment that's maybe valuable and can't be left in the cars overnight for freezing. And so we had asked early on if that was doable to, have the rentable spaces have a small office there with approximate sizes. It's just basically a shed that could act as a small office. But I don't think there's any intention for the renters to operate out of there, have a sewer line or anything like that. It's just more to have it on the plan, so if there's a temporary office that is there, that it's in compliance with the city. Yeah. I even operate an office right now that wasn't on the construction plans, but ultimately I can't really operate out of my building yet in phase 1 because it doesn't have an office in there either, and I can't operate in there. So, yeah, we just wanted to make it so the plan right now includes that.
So the intent is to bring power? Is it underground power to these how are we?
They want to bring power to it. Right now, it's actually just sub-metered off my building. Mm-hmm. But they don't want to bring power unless the city brings power. We don't know yet if the city will bring power at some point. I gave in the right-of-way, there's actually a note about bringing power down to the salt shed at some point. So if that happens, then there could be power from the city. But I don't think they're going to bring power lines down there for a temporary to plug, cordless tools in. It just won't work financially.
So for the 2 buildings, you're going to bring power, or the 2 temporary trailers or office trailers that you're proposing on the site plan, that you're going to meter off of your building?
No, if it's rentable space, I think they would have their own service drop.
Okay, so you are going to add more service drops for that.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be in compliance. The other key to this is making sure that permits are applied for
of course,
for these trailers once they're in place.
Yeah. That would be on the renters. If right now, I'm not sure if it was you or not, but I think that the city was not happy with that trailer that was there. It's not like a special trailer or anything like that, and they keep boots in it and rain jackets and various little items. But there's nobody working in there. This is not like an office environment. It's literally just really storage. And it's a place where they plug in their trucks to operate.
So we just wanted to clarify for, once it's on the site plan, we are showing office trailers to allow for a 12 by 20 office
Yeah.
trailer that could be used as an office. And
Correct.
if that is the case, then
Well-
it would have to comply with.
They would have to comply with, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I just wanted that
Yeah.
on the record.
Yeah.
And permits would be required for each one
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark, I just noticed in the existing condition plan where especially where the proposed rental areas are going, you've got snow storage marked there, and I apologize, I wasn't at the last meeting, but, so this might have already been answered.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing snow storage is labeled there on the existing condition plan, and I'm not seeing any snow storage marked on C1. So I was just asking, other than you have some snow storage on the northwest side of your existing building, I was just, where is that snow storage is going to be?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, we haven't really changed that. We store snow all along, we store snow all along, what is that side here? I guess the southeast side of the parking lot of our building. Along the right-of-way for the town, there's a good-sized apron, maybe, I don't know, 40-foot apron there. 30-foot apron, yeah, 30-foot apron anyways. So the storage is along, sort of behind the scale for the front of the building and to the left on this side of the building. And that's it. In the back of the building, I mean, it's so little pavement that it's not much storage. It just kind of gets put to the side. They themselves, I'm not sure actually where they store their snow.
And then I'm also not seeing any impervious surface calculations on these plans.
Okay.
So just knowing currently if these, these two rental storage areas are impervious surface, and if gravels or SurePack or anything's gonna be brought in for these people to be parking equipment and stuff, impervious surfaces, it will be of concern, making sure that you're meeting the zoning code requirements for percentage.
Yeah.
of those. So I would like to see impervious surface calculations.
Mr. Chair, if I may, there were impervious surface calculations that were submitted, Mr. Rogers, but they were not included in the plan set.
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay.
There is a note sheet that does include impervious surface calculations for what is existing, not necessarily for
Change.
any
Okay,
change
well-
made by future tenants of the rental
So
spaces,
if
just
they,
to clarify.
if they make a change, they'll have to come to get a permit.
Yeah, well, again, I think that since one of these is already, the change has already kind of been made, I think we should at least have some numbers that are reflecting the Phil's Tree area, since that's already really a storage area that's already in operation right now. So I
Right.
think that to reflect that, and if the notes aren't showing that, I think we'd need to see what those are, just again, to ensure that we're not approving something that would be violating the zoning code.
Okay. I have not seen those drawings, nor am I sure that I could, or that the calculations, so you would have to see if that's reflects what you need. If not, I can ask
Okay.
Liza to
Yep.
update them.
The lot coverage calculations, I do have them pulled up on the screen right now. And they're also on the new note sheet in that plan set that you have right there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for looking that up. Okay, great. Thank you. I think that again, I think that answers my question.
Answers some of
Yeah,
your question.
thank you.
As far as
Thank you, Megan.
as far as I know, I think we actually reduced the overall number from the original site as it was being used in
Yeah, that-
impervious
that wouldn't
area.
surprise me.
And we, of course, included these retention ponds. And we have another retention pond for the new building. But, yeah, you know, these rental spaces, because they need to be delineated, and I wasn't aware of that in my site plan application, that I couldn't rent my own space. So now I know that, but I did not know that before. That's why we made these changes. And so I'm just kind of learning as we are proposing things, what we can't and cannot do.
I've got a Sure. Just a couple, just sort of reflected that. In terms of spaces, it looks like you're going from 20 proposed to 29 proposed, is that correct?
Mr. Chair, could you please turn on your microphone?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, boy.
20 to 29 what?
Spaces, parking spaces?
Yes, so the spaces before, when you look on C1, were actually parallel
Parallel,
parked.
right, yeah.
And so we have found in our operations that it was just completely cumbersome. And so in fact, we don't really park in the back parking lot at all because the roof drainage is there and that nobody wants that. And so everybody parks up front. And it's also where the man door and the access and bathrooms are. So in fact, the back parking is never used, ever.
Gotcha. Okay. And then I just wanted to reflect the, in the record, the change for the trees
Yeah.
along the west side, and I think north side as well, sorry.
Yeah, it's a little bit road frontage and a little bit on the west side, yes.
And the purpose was just the species of tree?
There was
previous-
two purposes. The species of tree competed with, I mean, it's already heavily vegetated, so I was
Yeah.
kind of a little bit dumbfounded to make trees in front of trees, but whatever, that's kind of the rule that you guys have. It doesn't make sense to me. But then those trees were gonna get larger than the trees that were there and actually killing the trees behind it, so that made even less sense. So
Fair
now we're sort of complying with this rule that you guys have and trying not to kill the other trees that are already existing. It's a little bit of an annoying thing, but I guess we have to apply. And then a lot of the trees were put where we have no visibility to the road.
Mhm.
And then trees were left out where we do have the visibility, and then the whole thing about the trees was actually that we get some kind of barrier.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we just kind of moved it in the right directions and still tried to comply.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. In that case, I guess our next step, do we want to move to a motion? I know we have to do completeness, don't we, and all that kind of stuff.
We've already done completeness
Oh,
before we
that's
open the
right.
public hearing.
Oh, we have to do
We can
public.
Public
Ha-ha,
comment, even though
okay.
there's no one here, but.
I will ask anyway. So I guess the next step is to open a public hearing, see if anybody from the public has any comments. So I'm going to open the public hearing. Seeing no one from the public in the audience, sorry, court, I'm going to close the public hearing. All right. With all that vast public comment, any other questions, comments from staff before we move on? All right. So our next step is to, can I get a motion to approve this? I know that, I want to make sure that our conditions, if we have any, are clear. So maybe we can talk a little bit about conditions.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead,
I'd make a motion, there's a prepared,
Excellent.
I'll read from the prepared.
And Mr. Chair, sorry if I may,
Yeah.
before Mr. Hagan makes his motion, I just want to make sure that the board is clear that you can either have conditions precedent, which Mr. Froling would need to meet before he could receive final approval from the Minor Project Review Committee, or we could try to go for what's called final approval today, and make the conditions subsequent, meaning that he could get final approval today and have the plans signed by Mr. Chair. And the conditions could be met after the final signature. Hopefully that makes sense, what I just said.
It
So
does
just
make
something to
sense.
take into consideration as you deliberate.
And I want everyone to call me Mr. Chair from, no, I don't. God. Yeah, that makes sense. Does everybody else understand? This is a result of that court case from Supreme Court, City of Dover, just trying to differentiate between conditions subsequent and precedent. So we want conditions subsequent to be conditions that are, they're gonna have to do anyway, and wouldn't be a trip up in the process. If that makes sense. So,
Mr. Chair, if I may make a recommendation for the motion as a final approval with subsequent, making sure that all of these are met after this final approval.
perfect.
So, I'd make a motion to approve modification, or SPR 0619, modification number 1 for the creation of 2 open yard rental spaces and minor site modifications for Froling property at 20 Manchester Street, tax map number 114-012-000, as shown on the plan, as identified as 560 Main Street LLC, 560 Main Street, Keene, New Hampshire, prepared by SB Associates at varying scales on September 20th, 2019, and last revised on March 17th, 2023, with the following conditions subsequent to final approval. Number 1 is the property owner's signature appears on the title page, and the overall site plan on sheet C1 of the site plan. Number 2, submittal of revised site plan showing the location where Phil's Trees will be operating on the site. Number 3, submittal of updated utilities plan showing the location of utilities on site. And number 4, submittal of the floodplain development permit.
Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd also like to add to that condition as well, that I'd seen that there needs to be some submittals of some revised site plan, that on that revised site plan also show where the snow storage will be, that's being encumbered by the rental locations where the new snow storage would be.
Okay.
And with that, I would second that motion.
Do we need to repeat the whole motion, or are we good with that added condition subsequent?
I would add condition number 5 to my proposed approval. Number 5 would be show new snow storage.
Perfect.
Location
Okay.
on the revised plans.
And with that, we got a second from John, so we can go ahead and vote. All those oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just make sure that there's no additional conversation needed from the board.
Fair enough. Anything else we want to discuss? Okay. Yeah. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for the thorough review. If all those in favor of the motion for SPR 0619, modification number 1, site plan for 20 Manchester Street, all those in favor, say aye, or raise your hand again.
Aye. Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Thanks so much, Mark. And being rejoined by Court Blomqvist now. Megan's doing some stuff, so we'll hold off on staff updates for a second. No.
There's no staff updates, there's no new business from
All right.
the staff side.
I'll do the upcoming meeting dates then. So there are no staff updates, no new business. Upcoming meeting dates, April 2nd is our next minor project review committee meeting. So that's, I'm sorry, the second monthly minor project review committee is April 20th at 10 a.m. May 1st is our next pre-submission meeting. May 4th, 2023, and then May 1st, sorry. Oh boy, I'm having trouble reading this. The first monthly meeting will be May 4th, so same day as the pre-submission meeting at 10 a.m. And then the second monthly meeting will be May 18th at 10 a.m. if needed. So both those second meetings are if needed, just to be clear. With that, I'm going to close the meeting.
Yeah, I don't think it will be a different plan.
Okay, all right, but you can, okay, so
Yeah.
you can